So over the recent years, Tycoon has been giving us a lot of different vehicles, and what I mean by that is a lot. So in this video guys, I will be going over the top 3 best free-to-play vehicles from every single category, and there will be a lot to cover. So anyway, I'm going to be starting with the tanks, and number 3 position I will definitely be picking the Challenger. I do not see this thing used. It's also one of those underrated vehicles. However, the thing that makes it really good is that it has the most health out of any tank in the game, which is incredibly versatile or just used to be a main battle tank. In general, the Challenger is incredibly quick, going 59 miles per hour when you max it out. Its cannon damage is above average. Its machine gun damage, in fact, it actually has the best machine gun in terms of fire rate and overall damage than all the other tanks that use a standard machine gun. I'm not talking about autocannons, I'm not talking about anything else, just the standard MGs. And then with this, it does also have the highest APS count out of any vehicle in the game, which really puts it in an amazing spot in terms of being able to fight the Abrams X, because the Abrams X has 5 projectiles to throw at you, it has 4 drones and the Javelin, and these APS counts will be able to defend pretty much every single one of them, and this is the only tank in the game that is also able to do so. However, with this, you'll also be pretty much immune to planes most of the time. Now, once again, another tank that I also have is going to be a pretty easy choice, the Leopard 2A RC. This thing is pretty strong. It pretty much remains to be a upgraded Moderna in a sense, in every single way, because it has more health than the Moderna. It does also have APS. With this, it does also have the blow-up panels. It really gets rid of all the problems that the Moderna has, but with this, it does also use its kit. However, some of its damage is also pretty nerfed. So an example of that is that the cannon is pretty much stronger than the Modernas. However, the MG and the guided missile is going to be weaker, but I think this actually does cancel out pretty well in making this tank really good. And in general, it does just have an amazing spot in the meta in terms of a tank. I could even rate this thing above the Abrams X in close range and most scenarios in this game. So now lastly, moving into one more pick which I also have in mind, that's going to be the T-72 Moderna. This vehicle is pretty simplistic. I have even made a direct video on why this thing is so good. It does have really high health compared to a lot of other tanks in this game. It has the best machine gun in the game. It has the best guided missile in the game. Its guided missile also allows you to aim all the way up, giving you versatility at countering helicopters. The only thing that this vehicle does not have is going to be the APS and blow-up panels, but then again, this vehicle does require a specific playstyle, and if you do play right with it, it has the most potential out of any tank in the game. And now actually moving into the ground vehicles, and I had a very hard time actually picking this. A lot of people might hate me for this, but I am actually not going to be putting the Patriot on this list for the simple fact that this vehicle is going to be a one-purpose vehicle. Of course, it's annoying. In terms of annoying points, this will be the most annoying vehicle in the game. However, in terms of pure how powerful it is, I think the best anti-air in this game is going to be the Type 65E in terms of free-to-play players. And this might be a very hot take. What I have actually noticed about the Type 65E is that it doesn't actually have the issues which the Patriot has. If a person is sitting in flirts, most of the time they will be standing still, so you can actually finish them off with this Gatling gun. With the Patriot, you cannot do this. The Panzer's gun is also weaker than this one. This vehicle just uses the Lavad's gun, which is incredibly proficient at killing people in the air. And another thing about this vehicle is that it does actually have pretty high health, good speed, smoke, and a set of self-defense. It pretty much is the best vehicle in terms of being a viable anti-air while also being pretty decent at other things. It's probably the multi-role anti-air of this game. Now the next vehicle which I'm also going to be picking over here is going to be the VCAC Mephisto. This vehicle is used for only one purpose. That's simply just going to be going out of your garage for 2 seconds, firing the guided missiles and countering Ospreys or countering helicopters or really any vehicles that are camping your base. There is no other use for the VCAC. I don't see why people would really just go out of their base to actually fight people with it. This thing doesn't have much health. However, the vehicle that will be able to get that job done pretty well is going to be the BTR-80 Cliver. This is just simply going to be an upgrade of the VCAC Mephisto with self-defense. It does pretty much everything better than it, the anti-air as well, because it is able to actually one-tap most planes and helicopters in the game, unlike the VCAC, which needs to hit at least 2 shots. This one pretty much has the missiles of the Terminator while having just a decent self-defense pack, while also having the versatility to go on water and also having pretty high health. In my opinion, this might even be the best ground vehicle till this day. Now moving into the helicopters, this is where things get really interesting. Before I would probably be picking the Raider X. However, this thing has had some secret nerfs, unfortunately, making it way worse in general. Now, one of the vehicles which I'm actually going to be putting as a number 3 spot in terms of the best free-to-play helis right now is actually going to be the AH-64 Apache. This thing has received some really good buffs, allowing it to compete at long distances in terms of air combat. With this, it does have the best pack out of any helicopter in order to be able to destroy ships. And I'm really happy to say this, but the Apache is finally back in the meta. It's actually worth the grind for it. Now, the next vehicle which is going to be above it is going to be the Mi-24 Hind, which you can unlock after getting level 45 and faction levels. This vehicle has the best fixed cannon in the game in terms of overall damage potential. Not only does it have insane fire rate, but it does also apply explosive damage, being able to be very good at countering both tanks, air vehicles, and really anything. This vehicle is also really good at countering ships due to its 24 rockets. The only one issue of this vehicle is that it will take more skill than most other vehicles in the game, because unfortunately these lock-on missiles are not very proficient, and most of the time they will not end up being very useful. However, the Hind's main gun is the main reason why you would use it. Plus, it's also one of the most durable helicopters in this game. And now lastly, moving into the number 1 choice, which all of us unfortunately have to agree on, even though we don't really want to. The Mangusta. This is self-explanatory. It has an explosive machine gun, which is really OP, probably the best explosive machine gun of any heli in the game in terms of its aiming system. With this, it does also have 8 fire and forget missiles, which pretty much punishes all tanks, ground vehicles, and then with this, it's also really good in terms of air combat up close. And now moving into something a little bit more fun, and I really do love going over this. However, I'm going to be covering the best free-to-play planes now, and I refuse to talk about the Osprey. So today, I am not going to be putting the Osprey on this list. Anyway, now actually moving into the top 3 planes. Firstly, I'm going to be starting with the Dassault Raphael, but this plane is the best ship counter in War Tycoon in terms of overall raw anti-ship missile damage. Of course, this vehicle's only competition for anti-ship planes is going to be the J-36. However, this isn't the only good thing about it. Its multi-role missiles are extremely strong against both ground and air targets. However, with this vehicle does also have a very small hitbox, which makes it incredibly useful in terms of air combat due to making you way harder to actually get hit. With this, it does also have a secret feature of being able to lock onto submarines, so you do know where the submarines are on the map. So that's also another reason why I would use it. But now moving into the number 2 spot in terms of the best planes for free-to-play players. And I think you guys already know how this ranking is gonna go. The F-22 will be taking the 2nd place just simply because it is going to be the best air-to-air plane in this game. It's not even a competition. This vehicle does by far have the best turning speed in the game. Its missiles are extremely powerful against both planes and helicopters. I feel like most of the time you will be able to free tap helicopters with these missiles, and this isn't the main strength about the F-22 either. This thing's turning speed is god. It's insane how strong they made this plane, but you know what? I'm not complaining. And then with this, it does also have the 2 extra bombs, which can make it a little bit more powerful in terms of taking down ground targets or really infantry. I mean, I don't think this plane is supposed to have bombs, but you know what? I don't even care. It just makes it better. And now lastly, moving into the best free-to-play plane, of course, is going to be the Su-57 Felon. This is just a multi-role monster. You will always be using this plane if you do not have the F-35 for multi-role capabilities. The Su-57 is great, and it's self-explanatory why it's really good, which is why I'm not going to be going into much detail about this. But anyway, let's actually move into the boats, which is a little bit more interesting, but I'll make this quick. Of course, the number 1 spot will be taken by the USS Independence. This is an obvious pick. Once again, no comments needed for this. But now moving into another boat which has recently been buffed, the USS Douglas. This thing is extremely proficient at being able to take down planes due to its 2 guided missiles, which do insane damage and are also really fast. With this, it can also engage boats like the Independence and the Zumwalt pretty well due to its cannon also receiving a buff recently. It does also have a sonar. It has the radar. It just makes this vehicle extremely versatile. And now moving into 2 more underrated picks, which I also have for you guys. I know that this is a top 3 list, however, I really don't know which one I want to pick here. The PGO-2 and the Barracuda are both extremely underrated. The PGO-2 is an insane air counter due to its movement and also having insane damage with its Gatling gun. However, I do also want to give an honorable mention for the Barracuda. This vehicle costs absolutely no parts, but it's almost on par with power as the PGO-2. In fact, it's also faster than the PGO-2. It has a very small hitbox, and its gun is just overall pretty good. I don't see the reason why people wouldn't actually use this competitively, because a vehicle that doesn't take any parts to spawn gets used a lot in terms of the ground vehicles, and people also use Leopard because it's a 1-cost tank. So really for part efficiency and you needed to defend your base, the Barracuda can be kind of useful if you do not mind dying a lot. Of course, this vehicle will have one weak spot, and that's the fact that if there's any explosive bullets actually going towards you, you will most likely end up dying because this cabin doesn't really protect you from explosives as much. But either way, the Barracuda is really good, and I would honestly be putting it above the PR206 and the Fairmount in terms of overall usefulness. It's crazy, I know, but these things are really bad. But anyway, for the time being, that's going to be everything I have for you guys in today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below on your personal picks, and do let me know if you were actually surprised by some picks in this video. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much to all my channel members.